All right. We're joined here today by my good friend Sonny Uppal. We worked together a few years ago, and I was having him on the show today to explain to us what's going on in India with the No Farmers, No Food movement. Thank you for joining us, Sonny.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob.
Yeah, so I was hoping, and we talked a little bit before about explaining the why. So, what is going on, and why is this happening?
Yeah, I think that is the biggest question. I think there's a lot of people talking about it now, whether it's our premier, stars of different types of the worlds, where it's movie actors or singers like Rihanna, but I think people still don't. They see it, but they don't know. Still don't know why it's
Right.
happening or why are people saying this. So, and I'll just, I don't need straight up facts, but I just want to let you guys know what's happening. It's basically, I think it was in September, mid-September. There's laws that were passed by the Indian government, by the Prime Minister Modi, that they don't need to pay a minimum a wage for those farmers that bring in crops to them. And usually, when farmers have their crops, they give them to the government and they get a minimum payment of the crops they have, and which is not much, but it's enough to get them through, and that's their livelihood. So basically, what's happened is they've allowed now corporations to come in, and buy the crops and not have the government involved at all. But now those corporations also get the chance to weigh in on how much they'll be getting. So they can totally undercut what they used to get before, cutting in half. Let's just say they were probably making about $1,000 Canadian a year on this, which is not a lot at all.
Right.
And if you cut that in half or a third of it, that's significant for a family to go on when you live in India, because farmland is their livelihood. It's what they live off of. It's what they feed their own kids, And so, what's happened with these bills is when they got passed, they didn't talk to the union, the farmers union. They just kind of went through it and it just got passed. And so it's going to affect obviously the farmers, and it's not just the Punjab region. There's lots of other farmers in India that get impacted by this too. Um, but that cutting out that minimum money, that the wage that they could get, and not even being able to see that, and now just it'll be up to other people, private corporations, to decide how much they're going to get paid. I think that's the biggest issue that people got from the three laws that were passed.
So these corporations, like, are they farming corporations, or what exactly is it
No, it
that's
could be. There'll be people from all over that, whether they're billionaires in India that have
Mhm.
decided to take on, you know, they'll get into this type of field. They don't have to be, you know, with agricultural means by any sorts, but when corporate gets involved, they can, do what they want to do, and so, um, I don't want to ever be against and put anyone else down or anything like that. It just didn't seem right. It didn't seem fair the way the process went. And I think that's the biggest thing why the protests are happening. So if it can get talks again, and have the union involved, and I think they've had numerous times they could have talked. And I know that the Indian Farmers Union has also said they don't want to talk. They just want the bills to go away, because either way, there's no mediation. Like, there's, where'd that come from? And it's already impacted their lives,
right?
and it will continue to. So they just want to see the bills just be, gone. Yeah.
Yeah, because these bills have been passed arbitrarily. Like they weren't even voted in. It was just
It
this
was
is a
decided on,
decision.
yeah, in
Yeah.
September. They have, like, recently froze the bills. They said, okay, we'll just hold off. Um, but that doesn't really help anything right now, and that's why the protests are continuing.
Right.
And you know, and I got a connection to India. Obviously, my parents are from there, my grandparents, and got uncles and aunts still there, and living on a farm, or sorry, having a farm is your livelihood.
Yeah.
You go early in the morning and you work on your farms. It's your land. They're passionate about it. I love it. There's pride in what they have. Um, and then they come home late, and those crops is that's what you use to live, right?
Right.
And there are no jobs like that. You can't just go get a job at Starbucks, or I don't think people they're not in touch with the way the world is out there, and India is not like that. You just that's it. That's the only means of income you have. And I think people forget that. So, well, why can't they do something else? Well, there is no something else. And I also know that's, it's only Punjab is only 3% of the population of India. So it could get overlooked for sure. But really, the livelihood is really affected by it. And if they get undercut with these corporations, and at some point they can't afford it, and they'll have to sell their land, and then where do they go from there?
Well, and that's just it, right? Like, where do they go from there? These are, as you mentioned, it sounds like generational farmers. Like, this land is passed down,
Exactly.
right? And that's part of, perhaps for many of them, their identity, be it cultural, social, right? So yeah, what will happen now? My understanding is very, I'm still learning, obviously, but Punjabi culture, where it's kind of geopolitically located, is northern India, which is right on the border of Pakistan.
That's right.
Northwest, and in the 50s, when those lines were drawn by Western powers of where's Pakistan, where's India, that went right through the region of the Punjab, correct?
That's
so
right.
Does this seem like it might be almost like a specific attack on the people of?
No. I don't know. There's a lot of people that have said yes, and maybe there's more to it. I'm not at liberty to say, because I haven't put as much research into it either. So for me to say yes it is or no it isn't, is tough for me to say. I mean, there's always more to the story, obviously, with a lot of these things. But for me to actually give an answer right away without me actually knowing, and is probably not the right thing to say. But I do know, and I tell you this, is there's, we talk about Punjab, and a lot of Punjab is Sikhs. And people need to know that this is not a religion thing either right now. Like, there's, the Hindus, Muslims, whoever's, around. We've had people from Pakistan come over. They're all standing together about this. So I think people have that thought in their head too, that, this is, there's something else going on like that Sikhs are against these people, and it's really not. There's lots of different, there's not just the Sikhs that are the farmers. There's others, and there's other people in places like Pakistan that could come over and are over and supporting it as well. It's just more of just those laws, right? Yes. And so, and I think there, our family is there for so long in the cold, surviving whatever they got over there. They're not going back until these bills get, taken away, because that's like I said, it's their livelihood, right? This gets taken away, there's nothing else. So,
well, and another part that I've kind of been researching is the level of censorship that's been done through this. I mean, how this information kind of came to be is, and I've heard somebody mention this, that their family was there, they saw what was going on, and then they brought that back here and spread the word that way.
Yeah. So there's definitely has been. So again, there's people that are there trying to do their best to send some back. And then there's people on Instagram that have posted videos. But in terms of the media, um, in India. It's there's nothing being sent
Mhm.
out. If anything, it'll just be, the one side of it. And I think that is also a big reason why other people have now gone on to social media platforms and say, hey, listen, there's two sides to the story.
Right.
These people aren't there just for the sake of it and putting up a stink. They have rights. And again, the connection of, like we said, we're humans, right? And it's a human rights thing. And so it's great to see other people, and our premier yesterday spoke up as well, and said we should be definitely standing with this protest, and putting pressure on others to do the same. But just more than anything, just educating yourself what's going on, is the big thing. But yeah, there has been some censorship, and kind of one-sided at times, and actually a lot of times. So I think it's important with people that do come forward and talk, and give the other side, and do your own research, and after today's conversation, go to Google and what is this whole farmers protest about, and what were the laws that Sonny was just talking about, and it kind of give you a more clear picture of what's going on.
Right. Right. Yeah. And to me, that's another big concern, is this idea of censoring information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we, as as individuals, we need to see that if it can happen anywhere, if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere, right?
That's right. That's right. And I think that was exactly what people were starting to post yesterday, and it kind of opened things up. Like I said, celebrities were reaching out, politicians. Now there's people in India now have, because of the people in North America have spoken up, now they're getting involved. Actors and singers, as actually singers that were already here, have gone over there for months now, and a lot of respect for those people that have done that. But the actors in Bollywood or whatnot are starting to come out and say, let's try to figure this one out, and so we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
So, and this is obviously a speculative question. I mean, I'm curious what you think, but the pressures of, the media, celebrities, just even, social media itself, right? It sounds like there's an unstoppable force there. And I think we're getting to a very interesting point in history where our voices, it's really hard to silence them, right?
Yeah.
In fact,
yeah.
Can you silence the voices of the masses, right? So I wonder, based on your understanding, is the pressure that's being put on the Indian government, on Prime Minister Modi, is it starting to have an effect?
Well, like I said, just recently, I would say, like there's been a lot of people, a lot of my friends, family, others that I know that have continuously been posting. There's rallies that happen here in Surrey and in Vancouver, and there's lots of places that's been happening, and I feel like we keep putting it out there, and it'd be nice to see other people. Like I said, it's not a farmer thing, like this is not India problem.
Yes.
This is just like us, just understand what we're going through right now, and it's a human rights thing, and kind of come together, and I like to see other people start posting things, and that's why yesterday was kind of cool when celebrities like Rihanna and a few others came forward, right, and start talking about it. It's like, okay, finally,
right.
That's what it's nice to see that, because it's not just our people that are doing it, and it's getting out there with all that. And so I think it is now making a difference. I do, with the people that are coming out. We're so far removed from it, from being over here. We have people there, millions of people. It's the largest protests in human history, right? Like, so they're not listening to that. So if that's
Right.
not working, what else is going to work? And so I think that's why people are going on social media and trying to get others to speak up. And I think people are educating themselves now, which is really, really important. And so the celebrities, the politicians are coming forward um, and talking about it. Slowly, I think it will make an impact. Yeah.
I mean, it's to sort of step outside of it and look at it as a spectator. It is quite a fascinating mobilization, right?
Yeah.
And that we're starting to see in the 21st century. I mean, there were times when, like you're saying, these local globalizations or mobilizations of people protesting, you know, that could be silenced. But
Mm-hmm.
now that that's not working, right? Which is a
Right.
good thing, obviously. I mean, we heard of the protests, the awareness that was generated here in Surrey, right? Because there
Mm-hmm.
is a large Punjabi population here, but now even from that, it's spread to, like you say, celebrities like Rihanna, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like we're living at a time of unprecedented change, I think.
Yeah.
So
And to give you a perspective, like today was like everyone was posting about what, or
mhm.
yesterday was everyone was posting how what Rihanna had said in our as a Punjabi speaking person here and like loving it, right? Finally, someone else has stepped up. And I know it seems weird to say like really a celebrity, but no, it came from outside of us, and it's impactful. And seeing that, and then funny enough, today there's already a song by an awesome musician in our culture, Diljit, that just came out with a song about Rihanna called Riri, and it's like blowing up. And
Yeah,
overnight, just admiring her and showering her with gifts. The song's about, and like how awesome it is that she kind of came out and spoke up about this. Like, and there's a lot of love for things like that where people are starting to understand what we're talking about, and it's not just us talking about it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and again with Rihanna to step into that and perhaps, yeah, it wasn't her fight, but she's making it her fight using her platform that
Yeah.
influences millions,
Yeah.
multiple millions of people, and saying that, some people say, oh, that's not her fight, or it is or it isn't. There's always going to be the pros and the cons to everything. But
Exactly.
ultimately, what does this come down to? And, you've said it, this is a humanitarian concern, right?
Yeah.
People's lives are hanging in the balance with this.
Exactly. And that's that the big picture of everything is it's sad to
Mm,
see, like I said, my parents are from there and I've gone over there and I've seen what it's all about. The love, the pride that you have for your land,
right.
your work, blood, sweat, and tears go into it. You take care of it, it's your baby, right? And it's the way you live your life and it's what brings in the money, the food you eat, everything.
Yeah.
Trying to send your kids to try to have an education if you can afford it. Um, and so if that's gone, like I said, now what? And
Yeah.
it's sad. That's the hard part.
So I want to talk lastly just about the history and then the future of this. So was these rules, these laws that were passed, was that just like kind of out of nowhere, or was there always talks about this? Because it sounded like you said this started in late August, early September of
Yeah, I would say it
2020.
was about mid-September.
Yeah.
Uh, Mid-September, I started the laws had passed. Good question again. I would have to look into it, but I believe that it was something that had just happened.
Okay.
I don't believe there was talked amongst, you know, politicians with the farmers union or anything like that. I think it was, I believe it was just something that came out of nowhere. And, and even for ourselves being out here, it took us, a few weeks to realize what was happening, right? And so slowly the news started, you know, getting through and to this part of the world, and it's like, oh, that's not good, you know. And so um, yeah, I think and again, I'll have to take a look back and, you know, was there in
Yeah.
talks before, but from my understanding, it was something that kind of just the laws were passed just amongst the government, and that was it.
And to put it in perspective for listeners, that would be like no matter what, because as we said, this is a generational occupation, farming in this
Mm-hmm.
region. So to put it into perspective, that would be like whatever job that you're doing, all of a sudden, boom, hey, you might be replaced by somebody or something else, right? No matter what it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that obviously would put, anybody in any capacity at a level of anxiousness, which has resulted in these protests.
Yeah, and that's well said there, and it's like, and I think that's why me talking about it and passionately about our land is like, because it kind of makes me emotional at times, because I know what our parents and our families went through to even try to make a better life here, and they still have that connection. But me seeing that, um, and that is your whole life, and so people out here won't understand that because we have so much going on.
Yeah.
So you could drop of a hat, pick a different education, you can go, you can do whatever you want, and there you don't have those options. That is it. And so um, to just it's not just an occupation. It's not just you know it's just a job. It's your life. And so for someone to just say, hey, we're going to take that away from you, um, and other people can say, well, what if maybe this is a positive thing? Maybe they will pay them more for their crops. Ooh, time will tell, right?
Right.
But to leave that they're not going to get a minimum, you know, which is guaranteed, which has always been guaranteed, that taken away is very scary. And
Yeah.
you need those guarantees, right? At least you're going to get this, and then we'll see if you bring in more or whatever the quality crops are, whatever it is. Or give it to someone else that is saying, you know what, there won't be a minimum, but we'll decide on it. That's scary because that can change at any point. And that's yeah, it's a tough situation.
I mean, yeah, you even talking about market volatility, right? Like, all my one moment, all they want is corn, say maize, and then the next moment it's, I don't know, kale or something, right? And
Yeah,
then you're completely broke,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And because anytime you bring in big business, corporations, their goal is, you know, they're led by markets.
yeah, yeah.
So
Exactly,
further making
exactly.
for a very volatile situation. So what, and last question, this is again very speculative, but what are the future ramifications of this? So these laws have been passed, these very arbitrary laws that weren't even democratic or representative of the people they were affecting. So what does this say globally?
Well, just for starters globally, like if the price goes up in terms of crops, and that's what they're charging, and they've taken full control over it, then
Right.
that will affect anyone who eats food. Well, guess what? That's everybody. And if that's come from India, then there's other countries that can just take the lead and say, oh wow, we can do this. We can actually just take that away and just pass a law, and we can, you know, take that on. And so we would be, as people, are going to be spending way more money on these food items, crops, um, and that's just obviously not ideal for anybody, right?
Right.
We all need to eat. So, and that's why the whole thing is, about the no food part of that whole farmer slogan is that part of it, right? No farmers, no food, um, and we'll it can have big ramifications globally, right? And in terms of our our people that I can speak of for our land, then there will be no more land, for us, because at some point you won't be able to afford to live off of anything, and you might be forced to sell your land, and that'll be it. And then where do their kids go? What do their kids do? You know, and that's like I said, the bigger picture is there. It's not just now. You know, it's what's going to happen for years and years to come, and it's really, really sad.
Are you hopeful that this will be resolved, or like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, it's been going on for months now,
Yes.
and our people are there, um, and we're not talking about, you know, the protests that you may have seen in mainstream media of people rioting or anything like that. You know, people look at that and be like, wow, there's violence and this and that, and we got our grandmothers who are 80 years old on the side of the street cooking for the police that are there protecting, you know, the government and whatnot. And you got our 8-year-old grandfathers that are there just because they have to fight for this. If they don't have this, they got nothing. So they're not going home, you know. And so I just hope this happens sooner than later. You know, I was hoping there was supposed to be a big one in December, a meeting, and I don't think it happened. And I thought maybe in the new year things will happen, and here we are, still not happening. And so, you know, I feel sad when I see, you know, my people like my grandparents,
Yeah.
that are there sleeping on just a road or a back of a, you know, tractor, you know, that they're sleeping there every day, and cold or not, it's January, you know, and they're just there because this is their life, right? And the thing that's, I would want to see it end sooner than later, and I want them to go back home and feel like, okay, all the time and effort they put into being there and standing in solidarity, that it paid off. So yeah.
Last question then. What for listeners? What can they do to help in this cause?
I think the biggest thing, even for me being on here, is educate yourself, um, and know why it's happening. The question why is always the big one. Um, and then when you educate yourself and you find out, you know, we don't ever want to enforce people to be like, hey, you need to stand with us. If
Right.
you're not with us, you're against us. It's never about that.
Right.
But if more and more people get educated and understand why people are emotional about this, and try to make that connection, then, you know, go into social media and supporting it as a human, you know, rather than looking at skin color, or is their problem not ours. um, that we are together on things like this. You know, it doesn't have to be, hey, you listen to this, I better get on social media. They're not. I want people to get educated. They need to know that it's going to affect their life as well if this continues. And then it's a human rights thing, not just, you know, a farmer's problem,
Yeah.
or an Indian problem. So
Well, going back to the interconnectedness of globalization, right? We're at this point in history when, you know, the powers that may be, we're all contributing to something.
yeah,
So nobody is insignificant anymore, right?
that's right. That's right.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Now, what's one good avenue somebody can start with in terms of education, that might help them in understanding this
Well,
and contributing?
I think there's tons of people that are posting things online.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like I said, and it was also with a lot of other protests that have happened around the world, whether it be the Black Lives Matter movement, other parts in the world, Middle Eastern countries. We see the stories and we just skip it, on Instagram or whatever. You know, we see it on Facebook, you see the story, and you just swipe it over, and take your time to actually see what's being posted from your friends, your family, or whoever it is. And like I said, start with being, oh, okay, that's why that person keeps posting this. Well, maybe I should Google this or talk to this person that keeps posting this and private message them and say, hey, listen, I want to know more, and is there anything else I can do? And at this point, just standing together and being, just being supportive is the biggest thing right now. And I think that's the biggest thing. Can we come together?
Awesome. Well, Sonny, thank you so much. I know you got to pick up your kids. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time, and I would
Thanks,
love to
Robbie.
have you on again.